Ray, tell me a little bit about the beginning of Kimber Cable.
Um, Back in the mid-70s, I was working for some professional sound and lighting equipment people, and this was right at the start of the dance craze. Saturday Night Fever had just come out, and everybody wanted to put in dance clubs. There was a tremendous problem with the lighting systems putting noise into the sound systems, and the culprit was the long lengths of speaker cables. The speakers were right with the lights, and these weren't just ordinary lights that just were on. These were strobe lights and neon lights and other things that caused a lot of electromagnetic and electrostatic noise. So we had to come up with a way to do this, and of course the traditional way would be to simply use a shielded cable, but that didn't work for loudspeakers because we were so close to the noise sources that electromagnetic interference just went right through a normal braided shield. Steel conduit was a possibility, but then we were stuck with another issue. One was the expense of the conduit installation, and the other one was if you put speaker cable in or next to a steel surface, you'll always have a degrading effect because the magnetic field that exists in the speaker cable will interact in not a fidelity way with the nearby steel surfaces. So my idea was how can I make a cable that disappears magnetically, and one of the ways you do that is to have coils wound in opposite directions. They cancel each other out. But then the dilemma was, how do you take two cables, a positive and a minus, and twist them in opposite directions and then have them see each other? And of course that was impractical to do. But then I considered a crafts project that I had done hundreds of times at Boy Scout camporees called boondoggling, where you take opposite, but you need several of them, and so say 4 or 6 or 8, and you braid them in opposite directions. And I considered that and thought, well, of course this would have to work, I suppose. So I braided 10 or 15 feet by hand over a period of several days, and I expected the noise to fall. What I didn't expect was it to sound so much different and so much better. So that started the road to awareness and discovery.
So that was really the first product, the 8PR speaker cable.
Yes, I believe that we braided for the purposes of experiment. I believe we may have braided 4 or 6 or 8. I don't recall that exact hand braided thing. I think I might still have it poking around somewhere. It was pretty crude. It didn't look finished at all, because of course if you're hand braiding, you've got little spools of wire and you're hanging it from the ceiling and kind of like twisting them around. And then we weren't paying that much attention to the actual wire we were braiding. In other words, I was somewhat of the school of thought that if the conductor size is large enough, then everything sounds the same. So I was a little naive with how quality can be affected by conductors and geometry.
So that solved the problem in the discotheques, and from there this morphed into a real product line that you had a need for. Obviously other people would have.
Yes. The thing that really set me back on my heels was the first time we hooked it up and listened to it. We had just hooked it up just to see if it would work at all, and we were playing speakers that we were extremely familiar with, just one, and in fact I believe it was something like Electro Voice Century 100s or something like that, with a BGW amplifier, and so we were familiar with these speakers, these amplifiers, this setup, and we had music that we listened to. You know, we had our own favorite demo stuff too, and we hooked it up and listened to it, and everybody just said, "Wow, that doesn't sound the same as they sounded before." So that put me on the path of, wow, if geometry can make a difference, then everything probably makes a difference.
Now, PR is a product that Kimber still manufactures to this day.
Correct. Not exactly the same. Not exactly the same, but it is the same.
A similar product.
Well, different in that we have
Refined.
Well, we've changed the insulation from PVC to polyethylene, which is yields a better fidelity result, and we have gotten better at getting the best quality out of the copper for the amount of money that we put into it. So it's improved and refined from that point.
And this will be somewhat subjective, I know, but if somebody, given that PR in a different, in a refined version is still sold today, it's obviously still a valid product.
Yes.
And sonically, we kind of know what it's made of. What, performance-wise, what are the advantages of this kind of braided speaker technology, specifically to PR? That's a good stepping stone for a lot of people.
Well, there isn't any audio system that benefits from external noise. That's just a given. There's no benefit to adding noise to the electronics. Sometimes the noise won't be audible as such, but it causes the amplifier not to perform at its optimal fidelity. And so right off the bat, all of our cables share the braiding technology, which is noise rejection. And no system benefits from having speaker cables laid next to each other crosstalk with each other, and so the basic braiding reduces that phenomenon. You don't want your speaker cables to be injecting magnetic signal into low-level lines like interconnect cables or microphone lines or things like that. And so as a basic foundation, the mechanical braid gives you a huge advantage over other cables that would be roughly the same price, roughly the same size.
Last question. PR comes in a 8PR and a 4PR version.
Yes.
What's a good guideline for a consumer to decide one over the other?
The basic guideline is that the 4PR will fit directly into most bare wire terminals on the back of amplifiers and speakers, and so that means that you don't have to use an adapter or do something strange, and so 4PR in most cases is what you would need. The characteristics would be the same, the basic sonic characteristics. One consideration going to the 8PR instead of the 4PR is either extraordinarily long runs, more than 50, 75, 100 feet, or the other thing would be very, very large woofers, 12-inch or larger, because then the larger gauge size delivers damping factor from the amplifier to the speaker. Think of it as braking action.